Hey everyone, welcome back to the Pajama Crafter Stamps YouTube channel. This is Tara with Mayhem Crafty Cards, and today I am going to be making a card based on the Struggle Bus stamp set. Now, this is going to be for National Teachers Week, which is May 3rd through the 9th. So you'll be seeing lots of projects from the design team, so make sure that you're following on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, so that you won't miss any of the inspiration from this week. So before I even start my card making process, what I like to do is make a little prototype of the card that I might want to make. So this just lets me see where I want to make changes, if I want to make changes at all, and kind of go from there. So this time of year, being a mom of a high school kid, it is a struggle just for the teachers, for the students, mainly for the teachers, because these are the last couple weeks of the school year and they are just trying to get through it. And I'm sure it's been a long year for them. So I thought the Struggle Bus stamp set would be perfect for our teacher cards this year. So, like I said, this is my little prototype. And what I've done is I've cut out what I'm going to be needing for this card. So this is a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card front. This black strip I just took from cardstock. You could very easily take your alcohol markers, any kind of marker, and make the background black. Now this is a 1-inch strip. So this is going to be what our bus is going to sit on. I also cut off and I can't tell you because I just eyeballed it, a small little strip. This is going to be our curb, because you have to have a curb with your street. I went ahead and colored my school bus already. I added a little bit of glitter to it just because I wanted to make it like pop a little bit, just a little something extra. And I went ahead and already cut out some clouds from just one of the dies I had in my stash. So to start with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and ink blend the sky, because I'm going to be adding grass. And how I'm going to be adding grass is with my alcohol markers. Now, I really love doing it this way because it just gives you a different variety instead of just a die cut piece of grass. Plus, you can have fun with it. So I'm going to grab my markers and I will show you guys where I'm going to start and where I'm going to start my sky. Okay, so how I measure where I'm going to put my grass is I will set my black strip that I'm using for my road down along with the little curb, which we're going to color in. So what I'm going to do is just kind of lay it out, and then I will take a pencil once this is all on here straight. And I'm going to kind of just put a little dash line where I want my grass to start, because if you do it too low, you're not going to be able to see it. So let me grab my pencil here, and I'm just going to mark just right above where that curb is. So see, you have just this teeny tiny little pencil mark. So the colors that I'm going to be using for my grass are the Ulti markers, and I will set my caps down as I do it. Again, I always start off with my lightest shade. I am no colorist, so I don't take what I say with a grain of salt. So what I like to do is I just start flicking up in different directions. And again, this is just laying down this base color. And I like using the lightest color first, because then I'm kind of mapping out where I want that grass to be. Now, I will blend the sky in afterwards because it's not going to affect where my alcohol markers are. So I'm just flicking in strokes. Some are longer, some are shorter. And again, this is just to lay down that base color. So then every once in a while, especially after I finish the first pass, I will take my background and see where it's going to lay. So I'm very happy with where that background is. And then here's my little piece, and you just get a little bit of grass here. Let me zoom you guys in a little bit. So now I'm going to go in with my darkest shade. And I'm going to go ahead and do more flicks in the grass. And these are just light little flicks. You want to, do them in different directions so it, looks like grass. Every once in a while you'll get one like that, but It's really not a big deal. It's just grass. Plus, I think it gives a little something extra. So, like I said, just little flicks. And grass is never, you know, the same length or same color. But I just kind of go in where I feel like you're really going to see that difference. And every once in a while, I'll do my little curves just so that it looks like the grass is like coming up out of the ground. Now I'm going to go in with my second darkest shade. And I'm just going to kind of keep that same flicking motion. Just to kind of fill it in so there's no white space really in the background of where that grass is. And like I said, it's okay to go over a little bit because it's grass. Grass is never even. And I just like how that just blends everything in so nicely. Now here's where I'm going to go back in with my lightest shade. And this is just to kind of keep everything blended in together. You're not really going to see this, but it just kind of softens some of those lines a little bit. So that way it's not so harsh. Okay, so now that we have that done, I'm going to go ahead and lay back down my road and my curb just to kind of see where things are falling. So see, the curb covers up a lot of that bottom of that grass, which is totally fine. So now I can go in with whatever blue. I'm using the Taylor Expressions Confetti Cake to do my sky with. Okay, and since I'm not working on my glass mat, I did bring in another sheet of paper just to kind of save my little background. And I'm just going, there's no rhyme or reason to this. I'm just going over it just to give it that blue tint. And I don't mind that it's kind of come down into my grass because like I said, those alcohol markers aren't going to budge. And I just wanted, you know, just a nice little blue sky. Which doing it this way takes like little to no time at all. So now that we have that done, we can go ahead and start gluing down our pieces. So I'm going to glue down my road first because I'm going to take my T-square ruler and make my lines. So I'm just going to, like I said, just glue this down. Now this time I am going to pop my bus up just because everything was so flat on the card. I just didn't like how everything was, you know, looking. So that's why I make a card first. And like I said, you don't have to, but it does help if you want to change something. So you don't have a whole card front put together and then you're like, oh, I don't like this. So I'm just going to line this up edge to edge. And like I said, I am not worried about where that grass is sitting right now because the curb is going to cover that up. So I'm going to come in with my T-square ruler just so I can make my lines on my road a little bit, you know, a little bit more cohesive. And these are just random. There's no rhyme or reason to these. I just want to put the lines on the road. And I'm going to be using my white gel pen for that. So just every so often, I'm going to start down here at the... And some of these you're not going to see because the bus is going to be covering it. I just wanted to have a little something on the road for when we do put the bus down. Now, because I cut this strip, I wanted my strip to be gray. I didn't want to just cut it out of gray cardstock, so I did use an alcohol marker to color my curb. Okay, so now that I have my road laid down, my marks on my road, I'm going to go ahead and start with my curb and my no freaking way sign. Now I'm going to tuck my sign underneath my curb just a little bit So that way it's not totally out there. And I'm not worried that there's extra on the side. I can very easily cut that off. So now that I know that's where I want my sign to be, I'm going to go ahead and grab my glue and just get the underside of this sign because I don't want this to move. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue underneath of where I put my sign. And I'll go through and re-glue everything as I'm going so that way it doesn't move. So as you can see, it's like kind of popping out a little bit. So now this is where I'm going to take my glue and glue down my curb. I just took that white sheet and colored it with a gray alcohol marker. Okay. So now I do want this to be on the road just a little bit. So that way it covers up the ends of that grass. So now that we have that on, we can go ahead and stamp out our Hop-In Bestie, which I thought this was hilarious. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my bus kind of where I want him to go. And I'm going to grab a stamp block, an acrylic block to put my stamp on. So as I was looking at my acrylic blocks, I decided I really wanted to make sure that I get a really good impression of the stamp. So I did go ahead and pop this in my Misty. I do have a sticky mat in here, so it's really easy to lay it down. So I'm going to grab in my Hop-In Bestie. And I'm going to position it. Let's see, I have my bus laid out. So right around here, like over top the bus, but not necessarily in front of the bus. So I'm going to remove that, close my Misty door, and then I'm going to go ahead and stamp that in there. And it's nice with this mat because nothing moves. So I can do my stamping as I need to and not have to worry about it not stamping correctly with a acrylic block. So I'm just going to press that down here, make sure I get a really good impression. Now I'm going to stamp this twice, just because I didn't put enough ink on here the first time. Just kind of press her down here. So now I know where I'm also going to put my bus and my clouds. I just wanted to have a little bit something extra in the background, just in case, you know, I didn't want it to be too plain, but I also didn't want to overdo it either. So now we have our Hop-In Bestie. I'm going to go ahead and take my clouds from my cloud die and just kind of figure out where I want that. I'm going to glue this guy down. So what kind of teacher projects do you make for your teachers in your area? I know a lot of people will make little gift bags. They'll do all kinds of little things. I like to use cards because then sometimes they'll display them in their classroom. And it just kind of, you know, a little handmade gesture really does just kind of brighten somebody's day. So I'm just trying to get this lined up. So now that we have our clouds on, I can go ahead and finish gluing down the No Freakin Way, though I do kind of like that it's popped up. So I may just add a little bit of glue along the pole that it's holding. But back to my bus. So I'm going to go ahead and add some double-sided foam onto it, just because I want that little bit of pop. I don't ever want everything to be so flat to the card. So this is 3mm foam tape. Now you don't have to use this. This is just what I had in front of me. You can very easily just use really thin foam tape. And as you can see, I only have my big scissors in front of me. I'll snap that off there. And I do like to use the black because it does hide that double-sided foam tape. So I'm just taking this along and just adding it to where I need it to be popped up. Now, you can also make this an interactive card, which I thought about as well. But to make, if you're going to be making, mass producing this, I would just suggest that you just use the foam tape just to add a little bit of extra, to your card. I also like to add liquid adhesive behind my double-sided, or on top of my double-sided foam, because it gives me a little bit of wiggle room since I can't line things up straight. So I'm going to pop him right about here. So now we have our, and this was super simple to make, our struggle bus card front. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach this to a card base, and I'm going to stamp on the inside of my card. So let me grab my base and I'll show you guys exactly what I did. Okay, so I went ahead and put my top folding card base into my MISTI and just added the magnet because I do use a heavier cardstock for my bases. And I'm going to be taking this big struggle bus here with some gray ink and adding him to the inside of my card. I've been really enjoying decorating the inside of my card bases. So we're just going to put him off to the side, and then we're going to grab our struggling doesn't mean you're failing, and then actually, yeah, struggling doesn't mean failing. So that way I can stamp them both at the same time. One, I'm going to be using a black ink, and the other I'm going to be using a light gray. Just because I want that to stand out. I want the sentiment to stand out more than the bus. So I'm just using some VersaFine Clear. I'm using Morning Mist because it's a really nice light gray. And I'm going to stamp or apply this to that struggle bus. And then I'm just going to use the black ink to stamp my sentiment. So you could do this at the same time, which is nice. You don't have to pull one out and then do, the other. So I will stamp this one more time, and I'll show you guys the end result here in just a second. Okay, so now that we have the inside stamped, I'll show you there. Now, I did keep the struggling doesn't mean you're failing kind of at the side, just because, struggling. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue this down to my card base. So this is a super simple, easy card to make. I really like these kind of cards for doing mass production, especially if you're making them for more than one teacher, bus driver, really anybody at the school. So we're just going to line this guy up. Oh. So now we have our struggle bus. So like I said, this is a really super cute card for anybody in the district, your bus drivers, your teachers, anybody who you can tell is just ready to be done with the school year. So like I said, make sure that you guys are following the Facebook page, YouTube channel, and Instagram to see all the great inspiration. Until next time, guys, have a great one.